Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Young and restless new Michael will attempt the impossible. To keep Victor Newman in check, Michael Baldwin wreaked havoc on his and Victor's emotions by calling it quits, and in the aftermath, his former boss's worst instincts will go unchecked. Or will they? Someone is set to step in to fill the void left by Michael, but can anyone fill the crafty attorney's considerably large loafers? As news traveled through the Newman family that Michael had thrown in the towel thanks to Victor reigniting his decades-old feud with Jack Abbott, the immediate reaction was care and concern that the mustache would be feeling hurt, followed by a jolt of realization that the Black Knight would now be unleashed to do his worst. Victor was already targeting Jack for having the audacity to save Nikki's life, but with the anger over Michael's defection fueling the fire, the Abbott is likely to indirectly get the blame for that as well. In what might be the understatement of the year given the scorched earth nature of Victor's revenge schemes, Nikki pointed out that things could get ugly. In a bizarre scene, Nikki asked Victor for a temporary ceasefire until after her birthday party, and her husband agreed. Why she didn't ask him to back off for good is anyone's guess. In any case, it's only a matter of time before Jack and Jabbat are going to find themselves back in Victor's crosshairs, and those in the inner circle know this all too well. Perhaps that's why Nick volunteered himself to step in and fill the void left by Michael. Now, Victor's son is no lawyer, but he's an experienced business executive and, more importantly, has first-hand experience of just how out of pocket his father's revenge plots against Jack can become. After all, his daughter Summer nearly died when Victor enlisted Crazy Patty Williams in one of his schemes. But is Nick up to the task of being the new Michael? Nick has already began running interference between Victor and Jack, as well as initiating a fishing expedition to get more information on another perceived threat. Who else? Aristotle Dumas. But given Nick's nature and his lack of shady connections, can he really be as effective as Michael at heading off his father's worst instincts and working to protect him from himself? Our feeling is that Nick will not only prove to be less calculating and cunning, but he'll also face a similar hurdle to Michael. Nick is reconnecting with Sharon, who is bound to advise him against getting involved in his dad's dirty work if she gets so much as a whiff of what he signed himself up for. Let's not forget, it was Lauren who pushed Michael to extricate himself from the tight spot between his boss and his friends, which ultimately led to his resignation. If our hunch is correct, as the situation with Victor gets increasingly out of hand, Michael will realize Nick's in over his head, or simply unwilling to do what is necessary, and will prove unable to resist the temptation of stepping back into the fray. Which is exactly why Michael's marriage will soon hit the rocks. When it was announced that Genoa City's longtime legal juggernaut, Michael Baldwin, would be stepping back from his position as Victor Newman's trusted consigliere, fans of The Young and the Restless were rightfully skeptical. For decades, Michael's blend of cunning legal strategy and heartfelt loyalty had kept Victor one step ahead of disaster. Who could possibly fill those power shoes? Enter Elias Blackwood, a calculated, composed, and fiercely intelligent attorney whose reputation preceded him before he ever set foot inside Newman Tower. With a pedigree that included top-tier corporate litigation and an uncanny ability to outwit adversaries in the courtroom, Elias was no pushover. But everyone knows, representing Victor Newman isn't about handling contracts or legal filings. It's about managing a hurricane disguised in a three-piece suit. Chapter 2. Victor's next battle. Victor had never liked being told no. And Elias? He was all about boundaries, structure, and adherence to legal ethics, a sharp contrast to Michael's more flexible approach to bending the rules when it suited the mustache. Tension flared early. Victor, facing backlash over questionable business, tactics used to undermine Chancellor Winters, was confident he could manipulate another legal mind. But Elias surprised him by shutting down a risky merger in its early stages, citing regulatory risk and internal whistleblower concerns. "If you want a puppet, Mr. Newman," Elias said coolly, "I'm afraid I'm not your man." Victor's cold glare could have frozen hell. But instead of firing Elias, he leaned back in his chair, intrigued. "Good," he muttered. "Let's see if you can keep up." Chapter 3. The Newman. Inner circle revolts. It didn't take long for Elias to start ruffling feathers inside the family. Victoria, still licking her wounds from recent betrayals, saw Elias as a threat to her autonomy at Newman Enterprises. Nick found his direct, no-nonsense demeanor off-putting. And Adam? He was both amused and suspicious, watching Elias like a hawk looking for signs of weakness or allegiance. Elias, meanwhile, was busy diving into old case files, boardroom transcripts, and surveillance records. What he uncovered was startling. Hidden deals, concealed payoffs, and a pattern of behavior that could cost Newman Enterprises everything if exposed. In private, he confronted Victor. "You've built an empire on intimidation and control," he said. "But that era is ending. If you want Newman to survive, you have to evolve." Victor didn't respond immediately, but the look in his eyes said it all. Elias had hit a nerve. Chapter 4. Michael returns. Just as Elias began to assert his influence, the original Michael Baldwin made an unexpected return to Genoa City, not to reclaim his post, but to deliver a warning. "Victor doesn't change," Michael told Elias over bourbon at Society. "He adapts, he survives. But deep down, he'll never cede control. Don't mistake cooperation for trust." Elias listened, then surprised Michael with a revelation of his own. He'd been approached by an anonymous source offering documentation that could implicate Newman Enterprises in decades of backdoor dealings. "They want me to bring him down," Elias said. "And I haven't said no." Chapter 5. The offer Victor, always 10 steps ahead, got wind of the potential betrayal. Instead of confronting Elias, he offered him something shocking: a permanent seat at the executive table, full access, influence beyond the legal department. "You're going to try to leash me," Victor said. "You'd better have a hand on the reins. It was a test, a trap, and a challenge." Elias accepted. Chapter 6. Lines in the Sand. The dynamic at Newman Enterprises shifted overnight. With Elias now wielding real power, internal factions began to form. Victoria viewed him as a usurper. Adam saw a potential ally or rival. Nikki, however, found herself respecting his restraint and clarity, especially as Victor's tactics grew more unpredictable. Meanwhile, Elias launched a quiet investigation into the anonymous threat against Newman. The trail led back to a surprising figure, Claire Grace, seeking justice for what she called generations of damage inflicted by the Newman dynasty. Chapter 7. The Confrontation. In a dramatic boardroom showdown, Claire presented her evidence. Victor prepared to dismiss it as manufactured, until Elias stepped in. "The documents are real," he said, silencing the room. "But if we address this publicly, Newman Enterprises is finished. If we act internally, we can right these wrongs." Victor stared at him. "Are you telling me to clean house?" "I'm telling you," Elias said, "to save your legacy before someone else writes the ending." Chapter 8. A New Era? By the end of the week, several longtime Newman board members had quietly resigned. Settlement funds were disbursed. New compliance structures were introduced. And in a press conference led by Elias, Victor stood silently beside him as the new policies were announced. It was a public relations victory, but in private, Victor growled, "Enjoy your leash while it lasts, counselor." Elias just smiled. "Only if you keep pulling." Conclusion. the impossible mission. Continues keeping Victor Newman in check is not a job, it's a war. And Elias Blackwood may be the first man in years with both the weapons and the will to fight it. But in Genoa City, where loyalty and deception dance so closely, the real question isn't whether Elias can control Victor, it's whether he'll become him.